In this video, we're going to be giving you 7 games that we think are great to play with kids. These are games that are fun for adults too, and for the most part are games that as an adult you can actually play the game. You play checkers with kids, but you have to be really, really nice so you don't beat them all the time. These are games you actually get to participate playing the game.
We love all these games. We think they'd be great, so we're just going to throw them at you, tell you a little bit about the game and how they're played.
First up here, we have Camel Up, where camels are racing, but you're not the camel. You're not the camel. You're the one placing bids on which camel you think is going to win the race. So on your turn, you can either roll a random dice to see how far the camels move, or you can, what are you doing? Oh, yeah, we'll get there. Or you can place a bet on which camel you think will win that little leg of the race. There's so much randomness that, like I said, you can play hard and still lose in this game. You're just kind of like placing bets on, I think this camel's going to win. And as you were demonstrating,
camels go up in this game. The greatest thing, they go, and while they're moving they can sit on top of another in a huge stack. And what's so awesome is when they're stacked, when one of them moves, if it's on top or above, it's free to move off of something. But if the bottom one moves, it takes everything above it with it. So a camel could actually like be forced to move backwards and drag your camel back in time or back in the race. Or accelerate it. So a strategy, you could have a camel hop on another one and move both of them forward. So really fun, super exciting, really cool game.
Yeah, very fun, very chaotic, great fun game.
Yeah. Speaking of chaos and speaking of camels, what is an animal that's kind of like a camel? Penguins. That's what I was thinking too. Next game up is Ice Cool.
We played board games, not make analogies.
I'm all about the segues. Ice Cool is actually one of my favorite games, like ever, and not just favorite games for kids. It's actually one of my favorite games, and you can get together and play with a group of adults if you want to, but it is an awesome game for kids. Ice Cool is one simple mechanic, and it's flipping penguins around, and most of the players are trying to get around and collect their fish in the school, but one player is playing as the school's hall monitor, and he's trying to hit the other penguins in the school. And it's great because at first you're just like flicking around, they slide and they wobble around like this, but you can also, if you flick them the right way, you can get them to bounce and jump over the walls of the game. Sometimes they're flying off the board. It is perfect, crazy chaos. And it's one of those games that like, it has all these crazy moments because it really pays to like try the big crazy move, to try to hop over the wall. Because you might catch someone and win the game and save tons of points in the game. So it's a fun game, absolute insanity, but also a good level of skill and one you can like, legit play against kids.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Segway, what do penguins hate?
Orcas? Oh, no.
I was thinking summer. Summer. Our next game is summer camp. Hang on, let's recover here real quick. Next up here, we have summer camp. Summer camp, pull it together, man. Pull it together. Summer camp is a really fun game where, as it says, you are kids in summer camp. It's really fun for adults too if you want a really, really simple kind of intro deck builder kind of thing. It's one of the simplest deck builders that I still like. But the idea is that you have 3 merits you're working on, merit badges in summer camp, and you have those tracks, and you're buying cards from the different tracks. So you might, like, in this game have like the fire making track out there. You pick a few boxes and like you choose those cards. You might buy a lot of the fire making deck. You might do a lot of the outdoors or the water games deck. And basically those are going to give you special abilities. Some of them are literally like just move 3 on that track, or some of them are more like exploration ones. Like you get to draw more cards or something. You get, every deck has its own flavor, but it's really fun. Like lots of deck builders, you're going to draw 5 cards a turn. You're going to play some of those cards. You're going to move your guys to the track, and you have your guys. You have all 3 merits at the same time. So you're trying to be the best at all 3 things at the end of the tracks first. I played it with adults and they've liked it, but with kids, it's just been like spot on because it's not too overly complicated. You can totally play with better strategy and still lose. So it has a nice kind of balancing out effect with kids, and it looks really cute. And it's a theme that's not like, I love Eon Zen, but it's a little scary sometimes and dark. And so this is a game that you can play with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and there's like nothing scary about the game. I mean, unless they're like, I don't know, afraid of s'mores.
Whoa. Sometimes when the marshmallow catches on fire, it can get a little, that moment where you're like, I want it to be burned, but not too burned.
There's going to be a comment like, my child is afraid of s'mores.
I've been trying that whole time you were talking to come up with a segue, but I'm just going to go right in. Machikoro.
Yeah.
You're a person who likes tableau building games or games that are more like shopping-y. It's got the perfect level of chaos and a really simple goal you're working towards, because rather than the cards having tons of unique abilities, they pretty much all provide money in one way or the other. And it's all tied to a dice roll similar to Catan. And what's really interesting about the game is that is a moment in the game where you can decide when you want to transition from rolling 1 die on your turn to 2 dice. Or not doing it at all is a perfectly viable option. And that, it actually is probably the biggest like strategy moment in the game, because you're either going to build towards those big cards that score a lot of points on 10s, 11, 12s and such, or you're going to stay small, try to get a large quantity of the cards from 1 to 6, and hope that you land on a lot of those. So it's an awesome game. It's a good introduction to like a little bit of like tableau kind of building style, and you can really play pretty hard against all ages, because it's a little more random than most games out there.
It is. It's super random. There's a lot of times you teach a new player and you're just like that whole, classic, all beginner's luck. But it feels like you're doing more than a game like Trouble, where it's more interesting. You're not just rolling a dice or clicking a button and popping and going around a circle. But yeah, you get to kind of say, ooh, do I want to go for the 2s or the 3s?
There's a lot of interesting ways to play. And I think that's one thing that makes it very exciting. You look at your options on the board. You're like, I could go about winning this in a lot of different ways.
Or losing it in a lot of different ways.
Well said.
My next game is King Domino. King Domino is one of these games that are more fun than it should be. Like, I'm not picking on it. It's really fun. Every time I've played King Domino, I've had a good time. Taking tiles, you're trying to match up some zones in your board. The more stars times and size of the zone you built, of like, wheat fields or forest or water, the more points you get. Really simple. The one key strategy in the game is that when you put a tile, you put a worker on there. If you get a really nice tile that's high value, you're going to draft at a lower priority in the next round. So if you're like, ooh, I get to go first, I want the best tile out there, you're going to draft last. So it's kind of a little strategy of like, ooh, maybe I just want the really cheap forest one with no stars, because I want to go first next time. I have the potential of a really good draw. So it's really fun, and it makes the list, honestly, because I played it a lot with kids and they love it.
It's one of those games that you would think on every turn you're making like one small decision, but they feel very significant for there being like really tiny decisions. It feels very significant every turn what you're doing. So I really appreciate that about that. You know what kings wear on their head?
Crowns.
And you know what crowns have?
Gems.
The parts that go up. What do you call those?
Spikes.
And what are they? Pointy. Speaking of points, Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Which is very related, because it's a game all about
is it bedtime
being
yet?
Firemen, going into a house ablaze and saving people, and also saving their cats, because why not?
Why not?
And there is an obscene amount of people in these very small houses.
That's true.
But this is a game that actually, if you play Pandemic, I think it's very much in that ballpark of like managing the disaster while trying to accomplish the other thing. So the other thing in this case is going around and collecting the people from the fire and bringing them back to the ambulance. You have a few different ways you can go about it. Every player has some unique ability, from being really good at extinguishing, from moving faster while carrying people. There's also a fire truck you can get on outside, which the kids love, because you get to play with the hose and spray down big areas of the house. So
kids love it.
It's a great game. And I think in a weird way, this might be the only huge standout that like the theme really takes it a long way for kids.
Yeah.
Like just like being the fireman, I think is very tangible. Kids are already like into that. So it seems to always be a big draw, is like being the fireman, putting out fires, going in, put out the blazes. It's fun. You get to be the heroes. And it's most of the time everyone makes it out.
Very similar in mechanisms to that is Forbidden Island. Yeah, kind of a similar game, different theme, probably a little simpler. Forbidden Island,
less pointy.
It's less pointy. I guess there's treasures though with spikes on them. Maybe is there? Not important.
No.
So in Forbidden Island, you are going to an island that is sinking. Every turn, parts of the island are going to be sinking down. They flip over. Then eventually the tiles get completely removed. There's like treasure you're trying to capture. You're trying to trade in some cards. Kind of again like Pandemic. Get the treasure before the island completely sinks under your feet, and you don't win because you get off the island before it sinks. Number one thing that kids love about this game is the fact that the tiles flip over to the flooded, and then if you draw that card again, they're gone from the game. And it's so fun that like it seems simple, but you set this game out, and then as the game goes along, most games with their time, the game writer who made the game did a really great job of, you won't you rarely ever lose on the easy difficult setting. It's really hard to lose actually,
Yeah.
but you always feel like one turn away from losing because like at the end of the game, you might draw like 5 cards and lose 5 of your tiles. And you're like, do I have a route to get back home and everything? It's a really, really awesome game. Again, like Pandemic, but simpler, but the theme is a little more approachable. And yeah, just that really satisfying to like literally see the island sink around you.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's an awesome game for this, and it might even do the Flashpoint thing, like that kind of cleanup thing, and going through a little cleaner and more simple, easier to grasp for a kid. Hopefully, those give you some ideas of great games to play with kids. We play a lot of games with kids, so if you got any great ideas you want to throw our way, we'd love to hear them down in the comments below.
Yeah, thanks for checking out the video. We will see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Adios.